Well, hey guys, welcome to my channel, welcome to my stream, and welcome to another chapter working on this guy here, our A-10 Thunderbolt by Great Wall Hobbies. We'll run the intro and we'll get started. We are back. I got my coffee freshly made. I got chicken bacon in the oven, which means I've got about 20 minutes before I gotta run away. But I'll be back. Been working on another little project I've got going on. Learning a little bit about Blender and that whole 3D software stuff that, well, is useful to know if you're going to do 3D printing, which is something I'm going to dip my toes in a little bit. Anyway, what are we doing today? We got our main fuselage all buttoned together and done yet last time. So that's done. And we started working on our wings. We got our two main parts of the wings put together, the upper and the lower. I did put a little bit of Vallejo putty in along the seam here. There's a couple of little points that were showing little gaps. And even though it's really small and not that noticeable, and probably once it's painted it wouldn't necessarily show, I still, my own little OCD, I want to have those gaps filled. I don't want to rely on the paint to do the job of filling it in. So yeah, so that's what I did. They're very small and very barely noticeable. Let me change the camera here, I'll show you. So everything is very nicely put together until you get to here. There's this one little rectangular spot, and then right where it joins here was a little bit of a gap, and on the other side just a little tiny bit. Everything else looks good, and then you get to like the exact same spot on this side where you've got another little rectangular spot, and of course here too where our landing gear comes through. And yeah, other than that, other than those two spots, it's almost like they engineered it, because it's the same spot on both sides. And no matter how much I squeezed, it would not come together. So yeah, anyway, that's that. So I think today we're working on flaps. If you look at the book here, A and B, we've got to do these flaps. If I flip the page, A and B is just for, you know, left and right. I don't think we get an option as to whether they're going to be up or down. I think that's just the way they go, and that's all it is. Unless maybe these ones, our outer ones, will be able to, but for our inner ones, no. These are fixed. So we got to find our eye tree. Where's my eye? Where's my I? Those are M. There's J. I got my MJ. Spider-Man would be happy. MJ. Is that you, I? Yeah, you're hiding at the bottom of the box. Get out of there. Okay, I. So we need I 34, 35. We're going to do these two at a time just so I don't get confused. 34 and 35, where are you? Here's 35, so these two. It's 34 and 35. Like I said, we'll do these two at a time so that I don't get them mixed up, because that can be a little bit confusing when you've got so many that are similar, but they're kind of, they go together in their own little spots. Now these nubs on the sides, although probably not going to see them, if you leave them, they're going to interfere. They're going to interfere on you. You don't want that. could leave it. Could have left these until I got it assembled and then put them together. Okay, how do these go together? It looks like they go like this. Primered the wrong side, but that's not my fault. They put it like that on the sprue. Oh, look at that, it kind of clips together. Okay, I can deal with that. A little bit of a lip there. I'm going to clamp it down. I'm going to want to clamp these just to keep it, because it doesn't go right to the edge here, and so we got a little bit of a lip, and that's not supposed to have a lip. That should be nice and flush. So I'm going to keep a clamp on it just like that. Okay, put some glue along that edge. That edge. And that edge. Ideally, I get glue along this edge too. And then a clamp just to convince it to go in its little groove there best. Okay, that's that one. So 27 and 29. 27 and 29. So there's 20. These two. So they got these two on the same area nicely. That. And that. I'm going to get rid of the nubs after I've put the two together. It's nice how they kind of just snap together. That is cool. This one kind of fits together along their little seam here a lot nicer. That seam just kind of disappears. This one's designed a little bit different. It's got that little bit of a shape there. So you can tell these two are going to go together on this one side, but they are totally different, so you're not going to, it's going to be impossible to mix them up. Okay. Okay, next ones. 28 and 30. That's 36. So 28 and 30 are these two. The only one I want to make sure I clean up before assembly is this edge here where they go together. Because this goes into that little notch. So you can see how they have this, the design pattern in the middle of it, and that's why they kind of almost click together. That, and they just kind of hold on their own. One more side, there we go. Give it a little squeeze. Good. Okay, last two, 36 and 33. Obviously, these two, they're the only ones remaining. There we go. Let's put this over here. Now, I don't have one on that edge, so together. It seems like I only have the one that was like not really, because that edge is nice and flush, so I only got one that was kind of being a little stubborn in how it went together. Now that the glue's had a chance to do its thing, let's just have a look. Yeah, I managed to press that down and get that flush, so I don't have to sand it or anything like that. That's nice and flush. When we've got this painted, you know, I'm not going to notice that, so that's good. Okay, so with these done and assembled, that finishes this page, so we can flip her over. Flipping over, we're going to put them in the wings. So I have my A's, which are these ones, so we flip our wings over and we're going to go in here. So looks like we've got a similar kind of thing with our little patterns, so we're just going to match it up. But I've got to clean up my nubs, because like I mentioned earlier, if you don't clean up these nubs, they're not going to fit in those slots because the tolerances are tight. And especially with this little box pattern here that kind of has to snap into place, they've really made it so that there's not going to be any play in it. So let's make sure I've done my due diligence in cleaning the nubs on all four of them. Okay, one more. There's no nub on this side. Okay, one more nub. Okay. There we go. Nubs are clean. Let's try this again. This guy obviously doesn't go here. It's pretty obvious where he doesn't go. So he's got to go in here and just press that down in. And that's it. So it's kind of cool. You get a little bit of a lip, so you know there is something going on there. And it's not just a flat, flush little flap. I like that. But I think if I just glue the edges, that should be enough, because it is kind of a tough, nice tight fit. So I think if I just run glue along there, I don't know how much it contacts on the front edge, or leading edge, let's call it that. So I'll just do that. Give her another press, make sure I've got it in there all the way. Okay, there we go. Let's grab the other one. Put this in here. Again, nice tight fit that doesn't interfere. I got no interference. It just fits super tight. It fits Tamiya tight. And I dare say better than Tamiya tight. Wrong way. I mean, look at that. I can even touch it and it's not going anywhere. It's that tight of a fit. But it's not so tight that I can't get it out of there. I'm impressed with this kit. I gotta admit. This kit is impressing me in all kinds of ways. These are fitting in there just so nicely. So far, you know, there's not a lot of kits out there where you think to yourself, you know, I could build lots of these. This one is like, yeah, it's going together so nicely and fits so well. I could see myself building this kit all over again. Okay, so with those flaps on, that's done. So to show them here what they look like kind of installed also, but we don't need that because you can see them here installed. There you go. Okay, so we're going to move on. Step 16. Let's put our wings aside. Step 16, we're working on what looks like our landing, is it the main landing gear pods that are on the wings? The rear, I'm going to call them rear landing gear pods. So we're going to take these guys. These are on their own special sprues, L and K. So we're going to start with L1, which is this guy. I have these separated because I had pre-painted the inside of them. The XF87, or if you're using Mr. Hobby, it's C317. It's kind of a darker gray. Let's get that off the sprue. Trim that down. Let's see here. Let's clean this up. It's not much of a nub at the front. They did a nice job there. Okay. So we got to grab J and M. Okay, so those are O and N. M, which means we're going to need both our M trees. Let's put those here. And I need J. Where's my J? There you are, J. Okay, go back there. So I need J10. J10, this guy here. All right. That's J10, and we need M12. So obviously, off of our M tree, number 12. This looks like chaff release, or it could be flares. I don't know which one it is. It's either chaff or flares. You know, for years I wondered what these things were on the bottom of the planes. I figured they're some kind of an exhaust thing or something like that. You can see them a lot of times. You can see the kind of a black soot of whatever that's come out the back of them and stain the underneath of the plane. And that makes sense because when you're launching a flare, those things are super hot. That goes up here on the top here like this, although that's technically the bottom. How does it go? It goes with the pointy side facing the pointy side, just like this. Okay, there we go. So that's on there. Now we got to put in our little wall. Going in this direction, our little wall needs its nubs cleaned up. And see, I've got just under 2 minutes, and I'm gonna have to run away and get my chicken out of the oven. So this is gonna go in down in here. Just like that. Again, it's a super flush fit. Get a little bit of what's in there. Oh, it snapped in. How about that? Once again, I'm going to put a little clip on this just to hold it against the wall there, like that. Okay. So that's that. That's our L1. So next is going to be our K1. But I've got to run away for a minute here. I'll just get this off the sprue real quick. I'll run away real quick and I will be back. Okay. Okay, so I'm back. Let's continue on with this. So now we need J11 and the other M12. So we grab our other M tree. Get our other M12, and we need J11. There we go. Again, clean up the nubs. Especially on this bottom side of the wall, you want it to fit flush on the floor. You always want your walls to fit flush. That's true in everyday life. You want your walls to fit flush. Okay, so just like the other side, M12 has to go on top of here. Or you could just let it fall off. But if you want it to actually stay, you're going to have to use glue. There we go. Okay, M12 is in. Flip her over. Let's get our wall installed. This one fit a little bit nicer than the other one. I think I did a better job on getting rid of the nubs on this wall than I did on the other one. And that's probably why. And I'm going to take the clip off of this one and put it on there. And get that, make sure she's nice and flush and held for a little bit. Okay, so this one's done. Okay, nicely done. Okay, so that finishes off this page. So we're going to flip the book and let's see what's next. Flip. Putting these pods down onto the wings, but we got to add little rods of some sort in there. And I think we want, they're showing us here glue as order again, so they want us to put the pods down on the wings first and then put our little rods in. So, okay. They're not designating a left or a right, but they definitely will be. So we're just going to pay attention to where this little part juts out here and note that in the pictures. So these basically, I'm going to say, they point towards the insides of the plane, towards the fuselage, which means this one goes on this side like this. That's what the picture's showing, so that's what I'm going to assume is correct. So we just need to line this up on here, something like this. Now there's just one little problem. See in there, you can see where I didn't paint this little wall. So I need to touch that up because I'm not going to be able to get at that if I glue this on first. So I've got to grab my paint that I used on that. That is, to me, is XF87. They call this IGN Gray my Zuru Arsenal. I think it's some kind of Japanese. So I need to touch this up in here first. So I'll just grab a brush. My book. And just touch this up a little bit in here. This paint, when it's wet, it kind of looks like a different color. I'm pretty sure I painted this the correct color. But in case it didn't, I'm going to highlight some details in here with this color, just to make it pop a little bit. In the event that this actually is a different color I'm painting. But as it's drying, I see it's going to be the same color. That is something you can do to make the detail kind of pop out in there, is you can highlight it. You could do some panel liner in there too if you really want, but I think highlighting it in a slightly lighter color would be a better way to go. I actually want to do that, so I'm going to mix a little bit of this stuff with a little bit of the light ghost gray, and kind of do a little bit of a dry brush effect on there. So let me grab a mixing cup. I'm going to move my instruction book out because I feel like I'm going to knock it off the table. Take a little bit of this stuff. Don't need a lot, okay? Just a little bit. Just like that. Okay. And we're gonna just make it a little lighter with a color that's very similar to it, rather than white. You could always use white, but then you wind up, it's really easy to suddenly go too light. I just want to go a little bit lighter with it. So we're going to mix these up. So now that's going to be just a little shade lighter. It doesn't look like much difference, but it's going to be just a little bit, and that's what I wanted. Just so that when you look into that landing gear bay, you see a little bit of detail, a little bit easier. It's going to, because it's going to be highlighted. Okay, so all I'm going to do is dip my brush into there, and I'll kind of dry it off a little bit, and then I'll just kind of go along the top of this like this, just kind of these little cables or something, wires, pipes, whatever these are. Just kind of highlight the tops of them a little bit. This rod here, just kind of highlight it a little bit. Same with our little detail that's down inside here. Just kind of go along the top. This rod, whatever it is in the middle here, just kind of dry brushing it. go the same. I'm gonna actually paint this pipe my lighter shade. Like that. Now that I've got some paint off my brush, I can do this. And along these two little rods, just on the top of them. Nothing crazy, nothing, not going super detailed, just so it's like, oh hey, that's different. It's something different in there. Kind of draws your attention to it because it's a lighter color. There we go. Like I said, I want it subtle. I don't want this crazy difference in your face kind of thing. Just show that detail, you know? I've actually got two more little pipes on this side here. Let's get these guys. Just like that. Little wire on this guy. There. Just a little bit of detail in there, okay? And I'm going to do a similar kind of thing on our little boxes in here. Okay, this time I'm going to make sure my brush is dry, and I'm just going to kind of highlight their edges a little bit. Kind of like just dry brushing over them. Like that. And that's it. Just kind of over their front face. Like that. Let's get the clip off this guy. Like that, dry that off. And just kind of over their face. Wiping their faces, that's what I'm doing. I'm just wiping their faces. There we go. Okay. I'm happy with that. That's good enough. Clean up my brush. Now you could go a lot further with it if you wanted, depending on how dirty you want to make it. You could do the panel liner and clean that all out. I don't really see a lot of grime and stuff on the insides of these planes like you do on, say, an aircraft carrier borne kind of plane. Okay, let's get to installing these again. Once again, this goes towards the inside, which means it goes on this side. Let's get this lined up again. There's lots of little pinholes for you to line this up on. It kind of snaps in place, but we want to have it squeezed on that. We want it squeezed down on here so that we get rid of our seam line, especially on the front. It doesn't quite. I got that. Let's see that little bit of a gap there. I can squeeze it and put it together. So I'm going to want to clip on the front and on the back to hold this guy down. So I'll do the front first, and I'll get a clip on there. Let's get our glue on the front. And this piece here. Okay, let's get a clamp on there. How about this clamp? You gonna hold? You're too small. Yep. How about you? You gonna hold? It just wants to slide off. That's what I hate about these kind of things. So let's try a rubber band. Let's get this. This is where 3 hands would be handy. 3 hands would be handy? Yeah, that's for sure. It's not super tight, but it might be enough to hold it. Now I could also wait, but I don't like waiting. So let's just see what happens if I put a clip on the back. I can't even get a clip on the back, so I'm gonna have to use one of my big guys. I don't like using these. These guys are a little heavy-handed, but if I do that, I'm going to put a second rubber band on the front just to make sure. So I've got 5 or 6 of these guys, so I'm okay. So I'm going to do 2 rubber bands just to hold it and make sure. And then I'll run some glue along this edge here, and this edge here. So that's that side done. Okay. So, yeah, knowing that, in anticipation, I'm going to take 2 more rubber bands. Bing and bang. Put this guy in his spot. There we go. Snaps into place nice. How about you, Mr. Front? Are you going to snap into place nice? He doesn't want to snap into place. Why don't you want to snap into place? Let's line up the front first. How about that? There we go. This is a similar thing. I get the front nice and tight and the back wants to lift. See that? Just like that. So we're going to do the same thing. Put some glue on the front here first. I notice a difference in the 2 sides here. This one I've got a little hollow hole. This one I do not. This one's closed. I don't know what the significance of that is, so don't ask. I don't know why they've done that. I'm going to see if I can put both rubber bands on at once here. One is clearly bigger than the other. Maybe I can just double this up. No, they're too small for that. This rubber band might actually be too big. So it's not really holding very well at all. This one's smaller, so this one should be good. Let's put a 3rd one on. That one's stretched, so let's get... This one's still nice and small. This one's still tight. There we go. Okay, let's get another clamp. And we'll clamp the back down just like that. With all my rubber bands on the front, it's holding. That's what we want. Run some glue along those edges. There we go. So we've got those in. So we're going to let that dry for a little bit. At about 10 minutes or so, we can start working on these. This looks like the edge pods that are going to go on the edges of the wings, the tips. So let's grab, we need M and we need O. Okay, well I've got my M's out, so we need M11 times 2. let's move these out of our way and let those dry. M11 times 2, that's this guy here. There's one. And there's 2. Okay, there's our M11s. Now we need our O tree. It's this guy here. O, 18 and 17. Okay. These are obviously just left and right. They've undergated them, so I get to go like this. Alright, let's clean these up. I'm going to try filing it. I'm going to try filing the nubs on these edges. Just because filing allows for a little bit more precision in getting it flat and straight. A little bit easier than the knife does. There we go. Okay. Same with this side. Although I didn't do a very good job clipping this middle one. So this middle one's going to take some work. There we go, nice and smooth and straight. That's what I love about the razor file. Okay, so looking at our instructions, it looks like these little pieces go on the inside here. It's pretty obvious by their little indent that this is going to go in there like that, right? But I got to clean up, because all I did was just take them off the sprue. I didn't clean up the nubs. So especially here where it's going to not fit properly if I don't clean them out. All right, getting this. And this sits in there. Glue that down. Give it a little press into its spot. There we go. And that's glued in. Just like that. All right. So that's that one. Do this one now. Press him into his little channel there, little groove. Just like that. Now, they do show, they've done this again. They're showing us the photo etch to put on the tip of the wing, okay? Just like that. They just give you all the measurements of exactly where to measure from and where to place the photo etch. See what they've done there? To put that photo etch piece on there. But just like before on the top of the fuselage, they have it already molded in on the piece. If my camera will focus, you can see that piece is already molded in there, right? It's already molded in there. So there gives you your choice. You can either sand this down, file it down, scrape it down, whatever you want to do. I'm going to do this just to show it on the camera a little bit better for you. Scrape some of my primer off of here. Okay. Give you a better idea of what I'm actually talking about. That there. Okay. That piece there, that section. That's where the photo etch goes. But if you don't sand that down, you don't file that down smooth, the photo etch is really going to stick out. So this really is popping out from the flat surface as much as it's supposed to, and that's it. So I'm not going to put the photo etch on. We have the piece. It's right here. Right, those two there. And again, the only detail that really improving is you can see the little rivets a little bit better on the photo etch. Other than that, there's no improvement. Okay, these are going to go on the tips of the wings. We're going to put these on, and then I got to get going. Okay, so let's grab our wings. I still want to leave these on good for a good hour or so. These guys are pretty obviously lefts and rights, right? This guy is not going to fit on here this way, so it's going to be pretty hard to screw this up. You have to be a special version of me to screw this one up, and that's how it's going to go. It's just like that. Okay. Looks like you got a little bit of a piece on the floor. Looks like I got a little bit of a gap. It doesn't quite line up 100%. So I'm going to have to fill that in with a little bit of putty. Because I have a choice. I either have it matching at the back, which makes a big gap at the front, or I match it at the front and have a little gap at the back. So I'm going to choose matching at the front in this case. Run my glue along that edge there. Okay, and do the same on this side. So I'm going to have to take a little bit of putty and fill that in. But that's alright, it's not the end of the world. It just doesn't match the... No matter how much I press, it's not going anywhere, so I can't... I just got a little bit of a gap there along this back edge. I'll fill that in with putty. I'm assuming this side's going to be similar. Yeah, this side's the same. I got a little bit of a gap again. So, as much as this kit impresses me, here's a place that they failed. So I don't want to... Let's do that. While I'm holding it. Some glue along that edge. And hold that tight. There we go. There we go. Okay, so that's something I'll do off camera. I'll add some putty on there and smoothen them out once that's dry. But that's where I gotta go, guys. I've got to take off. Literally. I've got to take off. And yeah, so this has to dry. We've got to let this sit down and dry and let that cure. And then off camera, I'll just add a little bit of my Vallejo putty in there, smoothen it out and kind of get rid of it. I don't mind having the panel line, but if that's what it's supposed to have. But I'm not supposed to have a gap, that's for sure. So yeah, it is what it is, right? So I'm just going to put this down and let that dry. And thank you guys for watching, and thanks for joining me, and thank you for all the support. I invite you to hit that like button down below, and if you haven't already subscribed, please subscribe. Help my channel out, please. Yeah. Thanks again, guys. I've got to get going here, and so that's where we're going to leave it. And thanks again, and we'll see you all in the next one.